Hey guys, DetectiveFail over here, or DF for short. Before I start, I need to let you guys know a couple things off the bat. First, I'm sick, so my voice might be rough. And second, I don't care about the first point. I want to do my first video game review on YouTube. So let's begin Chained Echoes review. After more than 40 hours and achieving 100%, I figured I should make a review to help others determine whether or not they should buy it, or to determine if Chained Echoes is the right one for them. Made by Matthias Linde with composer Eddie Marianucro. I'm sorry if I pronounced your last name wrong, Eddie. The game is described as a 16-bit SNES-style RPG set in a fantasy world where you follow a group of heroes traveling around the continent of Atlantis to bring an end to the war between its three kingdoms. Not the most exciting catch to pull every consumer, but I feel it gets the job done. Because right off the bat, it is not saying they're going to be the next classic since the time of Chrono Trigger, or other notable inspiration from JRPGs. Chained Echoes is showing none of that, only detailing what their game is going to be about, and that's it. And so, the question remains, does the game deliver, and is there a lot of content? Chained Echoes does have a lot to offer. You have mecha gameplay, an eccentric cast of party members, gorgeous visual style, and soundtrack worth listening to, an engrossing story with a plot that is grounded and paced well, and scenes that left me shocked and unpredictable throughout. All of these hit me in such a way I couldn't stop myself from seeing one more scene, one more battle, and one more secret to find. I felt chained to the game, and its hold on me would not let me go. Before I start, I need to preface this with some critique of the game. While excellent and remarkable in its own right, I feel the game could have used a bit more scenes to flesh out the characters. They're not bad, mind you. There are about 3 moments in the game I feel could have transitioned better, possibly been padded a bit more to allow players to digest what happened from moment to moment between party members. It wasn't jarring or abrupt, although I find myself battling this point because if there's too much or too little, it could break the pacing or remove the player from being immersive in the game. I equate this to deleted scenes in movies. While not strictly necessary, some additional scenes could have explained or refocused the scene differently. Secondly, several villains could have been fleshed out a bit more to make them more compelling. I noticed in their dialogue they would be in the role to be evil and explain motives and more, etc., except during their final moments. Their character shifts in a way that is acceptable and decent, but I feel can be perceived as a tad abrupt. Although it's not horrendous or bad at all, just a minor thing I noticed. But my mind couldn't help but consider alternatives if the scenes were rewritten or tweaked a bit. It's not a knock on the character as a whole, since they performed as expected, and in some cases unexpectedly, but the dialogue felt off and forced in a way, so more scenes to flesh them out really. That's all I can name off the top of my head. Now let's dig into the real good stuff. The story caught me off guard because I expected a standard JRPG full of tropes and non-stop references along the lines of Ready Player One. Instead, I got something the likes of Xenogears except much more grounded and taking me on a roller coaster ride. As if the Chrono Trigger developers blessed the team to perfect the formula of introducing key scenes to intrigue players, quick meaningful battles, excellent usage of antagonist point of view, well-placed humor sprinkled here and there that is fun and not forced. The gameplay is fun and fresh and not all that complicated. Get into overdrive and stay there. Don't overheat. And as I continued to gather more party members and when the game introduced mecha gameplay, oh boy, my grin was ear to ear. Plenty of bosses and unique enemies to fight, whereas other games would usually change the color of an enemy and call it a day. None of that lazy stuff is in Chained Echoes. Each enemy is different enough and fits their environment. Heck, the game has a reward board similar to Final Fantasy XII, so you can complete objectives while out on the field and get rewarded for doing so. None of the simple fetch quests here. No kill X amount of creatures here. You have side quests, buried treasure, hidden caves, unique requirements to finish off a group of enemies, defeating unique monsters, and more. Here's the kicker, the game doesn't even have a level system, so you don't even need to grind, which is great. The game felt balanced as there are options to manage skills and upgrade them, and options to reduce enemy health and aggressiveness if you so desire, so you can make the game harder or easier for yourself. I stuck with normal difficulty and was fine. Didn't find battles too long like Xenosaga Episode 2. Those battles were long over there. I didn't feel tired from the combat system over here since the whole package of the game, from introducing new characters, new plot events as you kept going through acts, and more, kept my attention throughout. Visually, the graphics are stunning and the art style works to its favor a great deal. I was constantly impressed at not seeing copy-paste areas and looking for templates where Matthias would cut corners, and I could not find one. Every environment has different maps and paths to go through. Perhaps you might stumble upon a small gimmick to earn your way out, like small puzzles or clever switches and hidden areas to traverse. And these puzzles are implemented in such a way I wasn't truly frustrated. A nice change of pace and breather from the regular travel battle. I noticed enemy designs can be terrifying and cute in some ways. Cutscenes felt natural with animations not too sudden or too rigid. Smooth is key here, and I can't for the life of me recall a bad scene or egregious bugs. On the soundtrack, I am just in awe of Eddie's work. It's not the greatest thing since Yasunori Mitsuda or Keiichi Okabe, but holy hell, does Eddie demonstrate maximum effort here. I felt so much passion and emotion in Eddie's soundtrack. Field themes that left me breathless and where all I wanted was to listen to the track on a loop. Catchy battle themes, feeling pumped and invigorated to hear this again and again, and appropriate themes in cutscenes leaving me shifting my mood to what is currently happening in the game. Two tracks that immediately come to mind are Iron Scraps for Breakfast and A Flower Fields Perpetual. Here, have a listen. Amazing, right? Let's move on. There is a great deal of freedom given to the player in the middle of the game that doesn't ruin the pacing at all. I feel Matthias managed to balance players with a focus on the story and players' focus on the optional content. To be satisfied on either end of the spectrum is a delicate undertaking, and yet here, it's not a chore to do either of them, and the rewards for completing things like side quests are worth it, to the point where I couldn't wait to see what happens next in the story and what new side content will emerge for me. For example, character development. You need this element to keep players invested, and in doing so, it can make the player care about them if done well. Nothing too crazy and none too ambiguous. Instead, the aspect is used in a careful method that feels natural. The cast struggles and learns, fails, succeeds, tries to learn to be better, fails again, and yet keeps trying, is admirable and moving. It's one of the most human qualities we have, and of course Matthias can throw a wrench in that formula once he includes other cogs like drama, unforeseen obstacles, revelations, and more to keep players invested in what happens next. And this is what Chained Echoes demonstrates to an excellent degree. The pacing coupled with character development balanced well with optional content. It is this whole package that makes me want to play more and more. On the characters, it's interesting because I doubted every single one of them, and by the end of the game came away impressed by how far each has come. Some more so than others, but for the most part I felt attached to my party members. I hated one quite a bit for a good chunk of the game, and yet by the end, after seeing said character struggles and scenes, I couldn't help but begrudgingly admit how far they suffered and what they had to go through to see what becomes of them in the end. And this extends to my other party members who more or less undergo remarkable development throughout, in a manner I found realistic without taking my suspension of disbelief to a whirlpool and flushing it down the ocean. There is a heartwarming amount of care Matthias has done to create characters with feelings that are so human, and in the opposite spectrum create characters so twisted and disgusting I can't help but feel conniptions towards. In the end, what remains is a lovable cast of quirky characters and antagonists who are more than a simple villain here and there. A riveting story, very fun and satisfying gameplay loop, wonderful soundtrack to listen to, pacing and character development are balanced and excelled, with nothing coming to my mind that felt forced or unnatural, and while it could have been improved on some villains and moment-to-moment scenes, I can forgive that since the game as a whole more than makes up for those very minor critiques. Chained Echoes is one man's vision, with the help of a fantastic composer to bring to life an indie RPG with a story they want others to experience. It's a humbling, heartwarming game in a homage to old JRPGs of the past with enough content to stand tall with the greats. If you love JRPGs, indie JRPGs, or have a desire for a starter in the genre and wish to be wowed like I did to a point where you hold your favorite games close to your heart, perhaps Chained Echoes will be that one game to impress you just as it had with me. If you made it this far in the video, I can only offer my deepest gratitude for listening to my whole review. I've actually been wanting to do this for quite a long time now, since I was in high school honestly, but I've never had the courage to do so, so thank you for listening to what I had to say about the game. Hope my review can help you get a better picture of what it has to offer. If not, well, I'll try to do better next time. Take care, guys.